Welcome back to the Grinder, folks. We are back for another week, another episode, another speech from James. James, how are you?
I'm great, but this is actually a very, very special episode. Very, very special. Do you know why it's special, Addison?
Tell me why.
Because today is your birthday.
It is. It is the birth. It is the day that I came out of my mother's womb.
Yes. And this is the big 3-0.
It is 30. Yes.
God, dog, you're getting old, son.
Yeah, but it's like I get prettier and prettier each fucking year. Ooh,
That's the hope, right?
I don't know why I just said. I don't know why I said. I just apologize for cussing, and this is our podcast.
You just apologize for cussing?
Yeah.
I didn't even hear you cuss. I didn't even hear you apologize.
Yeah, it happened very quickly.
Okay. Look at you. You're just growing up on me so fast.
Growing up so fast. It's like I'm an adult man.
Yeah. Turning into a gentleman. Look at you.
Jeez. Look at me. This is the last time for me to turn into a gentleman.
Have you ever I have something though to jump into. Happy birthday to you.
Thank you.
I love you, brother.
Love you too.
I hope it's a great birthday. Are you in the office grinding all day today?
Yes.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Yeah. There ain't no doubt about that. I even got some soup mix that I'll probably warm up later.
Is that called cock?
Yeah, it's called cock flavored soup mix.
What?
Yeah.
That's fitting.
I'll bring some to you.
I figured you probably already got enough of that in your diet.
Yeah, it is the Grinder podcast by any means.
Have you ever heard of the saying, it's Latin phrase called amor fati? I think it's how you say it. F-A-T-I, fati?
I haven't heard it. No.
Amor fati is a Latin phrase that may be translated as love of fate or love of one's fate. It is used to describe an attitude in which one sees everything that happens in one's life, including suffering and loss, as good, at the very least necessary. So it's just saying, hey, this is fate, right? Like what happens is just the way it works. Like you don't have to believe that there's a certain fate for you down the distance, right? Out there, like there's a path set that you cannot change. You can believe that or not believe that, but that however it comes at you, whatever may happen, it's the acceptance of it.
Right.
Thought that was a really cool thing. I ran across that the other day, and I just really like it. Like, hey, whatever it may be, it is what it is.
Right. Yeah.
How can I use this? How does it develop me? How does it change me? How do I maneuver around it? What does it put me in position for?
Yeah. And that's been a big motion in my life in the current space. But also at jiu-jitsu. This is something this is a concept that we've been pushing a lot. My coach particularly has been very much focused on accepting positions, but do not accept where you're at, right? Make the moves to get to a better position, but accept the fact that you were being pressured. Mm-hmm. And it's how applicable it is to life in the situations where you're at. The world is always going to be an external factor. You're always going to have external things. Like you can't control people. You can't control the things that happen in life. You can't control if there's World War III. You can't control any of it. But what you can do is control two things: your emotional state and your actions, right? Your response to things. And that's it. You can accept the way that things are happening, but it's very important for you to react, right? Yeah. You can't sit there and let somebody pass and just pummel you. You've got to be able to accept the fact that it's happening and maneuver,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It's the same thing in whatever you do. You can't control if if the interest rates go up, right? You can't control if the policies get harder to sell, right? You
Yeah.
can't control that part,
Yeah.
but you can
Yeah.
control how many.
And then it's like, the things that are out of your control, right? But also the things that may happen that you see are bad things. There's stuff where, God, I can't remember. I think it was an actor that missed one of the flights that was one of the planes that was involved in 9/11. He missed the flight. He was late to it. And because of him being late, missing the flight, it saved his life. Now, that's a really obvious one, right? Like where, man, it played out in favor. But how many small things potentially happen to you on a daily basis where you don't realize it? You'll never know. You'll never have a clue, right? Like, man, you got stuck behind that slow car and you were whining about it, but it might have saved you from that accident up the road, right?
I mean, I want a second on that. How many times does that actually happen where you're like, you either were late or whatever else, and you just happen to miss, like you're driving by on the interstate, like you're driving past a pretty bad accident. Has that ever happened to you?
Yeah.
Dude, that's happened so many times where, oh, I couldn't find my keys this morning. I'm mad at that. And then I get down the road and like there's, 3 cars piled up on whatever.
Yeah.
What's happened?
Yeah.
But that point is very clear.
Yeah. Well, look, man, I don't know if I've ever talked about it on the podcast, but I joke about it here at the office. There's a guy, when I got an insurance, I started with, and I look at this as something happening that I thought was a negative, but now I do see it as a positive. It was. And that's, or that how it helped me, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like it or not, it helped me. And that was when I got an insurance. There was a guy and I that started around the same time. His name was Mark. And he was a year younger than me. We started, I think, within a week of each other. And we were like the young guns, man. We were the new guys on the block. We were trying to learn. So of course we became pretty tight pretty quick because we were just trying to pay our bills, right? Figure this thing out. Well, I can't remember exactly what happened. He got like a DUI or something. And it like totally like just changed his attitude. He just got this horrible attitude. And I would come in the office and stuff. And we worked in this little office, satellite office. It was just us two. And he got like a really bad attitude. Like he just hated life in the moment. I get it. He was young, couldn't drive, right? Because of that. And he was just in a really crappy attitude. Well, he would just like put his feet up on the desk, go to sleep and stuff. And back then, like we were like very professionally dressed. We wore suits or ties every day. And like he would come in wearing like a baseball hat and stuff with a suit on. It was like he was just like he was like rebelling, right? And I'd said a couple things because I had customers coming in. And, basically, long story short, he was like, you can just go fuck yourself. Okay. All right. So I was done. So him and I worked in this office, barely spoke to each other, but it fueled me. We were in the same position. We were both in sales. And half of the reason I came in early and stayed late, just as petty as it was to beat that guy. I wanted to beat him every week, just flat out, because he pissed me off. He disrespected me. So it's like, I'm just going to stomp a mud hole in this dude doing the work. And I did, man. I mean, I absolutely just hammered in it. I got really good at my craft, but it was all because of like this little thing that I thought was really stupid.
Yeah.
And I totally probably had the wrong viewpoint on it, but it fueled me and it put me on a better course in my career.
Right.
It did. So, Mark, wherever you're at, appreciate you, brother. I really do, man. I'm not being sarcastic. Appreciate you, dude. We were kids back then. I appreciate that guy.
Yeah.
Because he helped me get way better at what I do.
Yeah, there's things that, that genuinely happen for whatever reason, whether you believe in fate, whether you believe in destiny, whatever. There are things that happen in your life for specific reasons.
Yeah.
Right. And whether that's a point to be able to show you something, to put you on a different path, whatever it is, make you go harder. there's so many things that happen, and they're those small moments, like you were talking about, the little things that happen, and you may not even think anything about it. Jordan Peterson, I was listening to something he was talking about the other day, and it was basically this: when, you know, he said in therapy, you are sitting there and you're talking to this person and they're having like such a hard time. He said you can always go back a little bit, like further back, and by the time you break it down, there's going to be one thing that happened that they chose to go left instead of right. And because they did, they ended up in the situation that they were at. And he said, you miss, so many people miss those things like you talked about. Because if you would have just, you know, let's say you would have tried to console him and be more da 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 da, you know, accepting of him and whatever else, you probably wouldn't be in the same position that you are just because of that small little thing.
Yeah.
And so it just goes to show you that those are the points where you get to actually build personality, you get to build character, and you get to build um, resilience, whatever it may be. These are the moments you get to do that. And I think personally, that's why it's so important to be able to put yourself through like mandatory adversity, right? Whether that's going to the weight room, whether that's going into the office on a daily basis, whether it's going, you know, to fight, whatever it is. There's so many things that you've got to choose to do because life is always going to have those external things, and these things over here, the things that you choose to go through, are going to be the ones that set the tone for how you react.
Yeah. 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 And then if you start seeing that, like everything that is happening for a reason, right? Or there's, it is what it is. And I'm going to go with it, right? I'm just going to follow the path. I'm going to keep going. Then maybe you'll get a better mindset. Or maybe you go, oh my God, this is one of those opportunities. It's a left or a right.
Yep.
Which
Yep.
one? Which one's it going to be, right?
Yep. And
That's kind of cool.
over the past month, there have been a couple circumstances that have happened that I did go into the not why me, but it was more of like a I've got to do these things now. Like I've got to do this. I've got to do this. I've got to do this. And then I started feeling kind of, and I think I may have mentioned this to you, but I started feeling like I was needed in all these other places, but I also needed to do things on my, like I needed my thing to do, right? Because I had other shit going on, but it was like there's all these other family things, and I've got to be there for these people.
Mm-hmm.
And that word "got" hit me like a ton of bricks. Like I've got to do this. JP's voice popped into my head. Like I was at the office, I was filling up my water, and I was like, because I was about to have to go somewhere and do something, and I was like, bro, I get to do this. Like everything that is happening right now, I get to be there for these people. I get to be that person who is that wall, right? The grounding piece. No matter what I have going on, no matter the circumstances that are at play, and my own shit, I can handle that. But now I get to be there for these people and make sure that I'm showing up.
Yeah.
And dude, everything changed. Like my entire in that little space, right, where I was kind of feeling like I was being pulled too many places.
Mm-hmm.
That one little statement, like you get to do this.
Yeah. You
Legit.
start feeling a little sorry for yourself, like
Yeah.
right there on the verge. Yeah. Yeah.
I was like, the moment, like genuinely heard JP's voice in my head, which is the weirdest thing. We'll have to tell him about that. But the moment that happened, dude, everything, it all went away. Everything that I was feeling, like the whatever, it was gone. And I was like, all right, put the
Yeah.
boots on, let's move.
Now let's make sure we clarify there, because it's not saying like you still don't need to take a minute, process how you feel about things,
Yeah.
or have emotions to things. It's not that. It's not you going cold. It's
Right.
just you going into action.
Right.
Right. And going, okay, well, I'm still here. I still got breath in my lungs. I still have an opportunity. Right.
Right. Right.
I can, all this will get solved. All this will get figured out. Very big difference.
Very big difference.
Yeah. No, it's like it's not. It's saying you got to be some kind of rock. You
No.
know. Yeah.
And that's because the moment that you get to that point, you're not getting to do these things. That's actually not getting to do them. You're
Really good point. You're right. 100% correct.
you're just doing them because they have
Yeah.
to. That's
Yeah.
a different
I
thing.
have to be this person.
Yes,
Yep.
exactly.
I
Exactly.
have to not show emotion. I have to look this way. Yeah. Yeah. I agree. 100%. That's really good. That's
Yeah.
good shit.
Yeah. And so that's man, it's a luxury to be in the position that you're in, no matter what that position is. It's a luxury. And a lot of times you don't the life will make it very difficult to see that sometimes, but for sure it's a luxury.
Yeah. Yeah.
You get to do it.
Well,
So
I had um, an AVP, a regional AVP one time say we were in a hard market. Of course, it was talking about sales and stuff, as much sales folks and
quick question. AVP.
associate vice president of the region for like one of the carriers. And she made a really good point. She was a badass, and she's like, you get knocked down, like that's cool. Like you get knocked down, like sometimes you need to lay there for a minute.
Mhm.
Like the fact is, like not if, but like when are you getting back up? When you gonna dust yourself off? When are you gonna get back at it? Right? Like, and I think that's key to that as well. Like, hey, it may take you a minute to accept the situation, but the situation's a situation. Like where is there opportunity in it? Where are you going to go with it? What are you looking for in that? Right. So it goes back to the story where it's like you take two kids, you each walk them in a room that's full of horse shit. One kid's going to be mad, another kid's going to be there. Like, I mean, all this horse shit, there's got to be a pony somewhere, right? Like,
Right.
which one? How are you looking at the situations, right? Big difference.
Yeah, it is. It's cool to be able to catch your perspective on things. And I think this is why we do the podcast, right? This
Yeah.
gives us, you and I, together, it gives us a voice of who needs therapy when I got James. Um, but there is also the level of we also get to touch a lot of folks that may be in the similar situation or maybe have not hit that situation yet and are on the process of getting to that place.
Yeah.
And business can be lonely, man. It can be one of those things where you get so hunkered in that I think you actually mentioned this the other day, where like not loneliness, but you get so caught up in uh, your office, like your space, that being outside of that, it can get annoying,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And I've been guilty of that so many damn times. Like, I want to be in my spot. I want to hammer out my stuff.
Yeah.
This is the rock. Get on. Um,
Yeah.
and anything that's not that can be annoying.
Yeah. For sure.
But
So to that, all right, you're gonna listen to this podcast, you're gonna turn on the radio or whatever after. What are you what today, what right now, what in this moment do you get to do? Right? Like, okay, so you get to do it, get your mindset right about it, get some perspective on it, and then get after it, whatever it is. Whatever it is. And do something about it. So that's the goal today, right? That's the goal right now in this moment.
that's it. So with all that being said, folks, we appreciate you for listening. We appreciate you sharing the podcast. We appreciate you showing love to our sponsors, Jocko Fuel and Origin USA. They are putting out some high quality stuff for high quality people. And yes, that's you. With that being said, when you get to those websites, Jocko Fuel and Origin USA, and you get into the filling up your cart, you're getting all excited. You can get even more excited when you put in the code GRIND10 at checkout, GRIND10 at checkout. Save yourself 10% off and bring home the goodies. James.
Grinder out.